Hello, everyone. My name is Sinan Kassim, and I'm joined today by a very special guest, the mayor of the city of Parkland, Christine Hunschofsky. She represents around 30,000 residents, and she is a mentor to me, whether it's been through the Student Mayor for a Month program or student government as she works with schools across the city, or in speech and debate because she cares about our students. She serves with her heart, her soul, and everything she's got. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mayor Hunschofsky.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I apologize for any of my technical difficulties.
No, it's no problem. I'm just glad we're on now and we're ready to have a great conversation. Mayor, how are you and your family doing in this new age of social distancing and self-quarantine?
Yeah, well, it's obviously been something that we've had to get used to. One great benefit for me personally is that both my boys are home from college. So that has been really nice, and I get to spend extra time with them. And my husband isn't traveling for business right now, so that's great to have him home too. And but it has been an adjustment, as it has for everybody else. We have our better days and our not so great days, but we try and just make the best of it. No moment is promised, no day is promised. So it's important to see those moments of gratitude, those moments of happiness throughout the day whenever we can. And that's what we try and focus on.
And I'm so glad you're bringing that same spirit that you do when you're serving our community. The community has gone through a lot of tragedy, and you have been in the White House dealing and talking with different mayors about how we can best handle tragedy across the country. And you've become a national voice. What is your insight on how we can get through this tragedy and even more than that?
Well, I think the first thing, whenever you're faced with a crisis or something that's really traumatic and difficult, is to first acknowledge the human toll that it's taking. People don't want to hear what your answer is until they know that you understand what's actually happening. And nor can you come up with any answers or try and come up with solutions until you have a good understanding of where the problems are and what needs to be done. So the first thing is to always acknowledge, that when we're in a crisis situation or in a situation where there's a lot of unknowns, that there's a lot of insecurity that's surrounded by that. There are a lot of questions. And then it's important to get the facts and the information that's out there. And I like to focus on the things we can do, even in a hurricane situation. When we had Irma coming our way almost 2 years ago now. And at one point we were supposed to be a straight hit for a Cat 5. And I remember my husband and I were both looking at our computer screens like, oh my goodness. And all we can do in that situation is the information we have and the tools we have and prepare. And that's where we get that sense of that there's something we can do in this moment. There's something we can control in this moment. And it's important for a community and for us individuals to remember to focus on those things that we can have an impact on. And right now, the best impact we can have is to practice the physical distancing and to take the precautions necessary and to adjust accordingly.
Mayor Hunschofsky, what is the City of Parkland's response to COVID-19, particularly the emergency orders that were put in place?
Yes, so we have had so many emergency orders and executive orders in the state of Florida and the county, and then the cities have had their own. So it's been very confusing for people, and I completely understand that. At times it's been confusing for elected officials as well. We have sometimes are getting the orders from either the state or the county, and we have to go through them as well to have a good understanding of what they exactly mean. One of the first things the city of Parkland did is promote the social distancing. Those recommendations came down pretty early. Governor DeSantis also sent those down, and then the president came up with that a couple days later. We then closed our playgrounds first because those were, kids would go to the playground, touch everything, and then other people would be touching it, and that would not help stop the spread. The next step was closing the parks. And then the Broward County ordinance defined what were considered essential services, essential businesses, and what were not. And we basically just communicated that information and tried to follow along. And now
Mayor,
the newest one is obviously the wearing of the face coverings when out doing essential business.
and Mayor, we appreciate you promoting the guidelines and the orders that have been put in place. And I know that as youth, we look to you as an advocate and a leader. And personally, I know I've learned a lot from your leadership with humility and the way that you serve with everything that you have. What are the needs of the youth today during this crisis and opportunities for youth engagement?
Yeah, I mean, I think the things that the youth need now are very similar in many ways to what every human being needs right now. While we're practicing physical distancing, it's really important that we're still connecting socially with one another, that there is not that sense of isolation. We want to make sure that while people are at home, they're not feeling isolated. We also realize that not everybody has a happy home life. There can be added stressors, especially in a time of uncertainty, so that there might be extra stress at home. And it's important that people know that they have others to reach out to, that there are people they can call. We have Eagles Haven, which is, they've been amazing. They have excellent wellness activities every day. But what a lot of people don't seem to realize is that they have a lot of trained clinicians on staff, licensed clinicians who can really, if there is something someone needs to talk about, they have people available for that. So on the one hand, it's important to practice self-care. It's important to realize that we will have some good days, we will have some not so good days, and we will all have some pretty bad days. And to take it easy on ourselves, forgive ourselves for those days that we might not be at our best. And they may be more days like that than we prefer to acknowledge, but it's okay. And to kind of remember that there's not a certain way you're supposed to be, there's not a certain way you're supposed to feel, and just to acknowledge the way you do feel, the insecurities you may have, and realize that there's support out there if you need it. As far as getting involved, there's so much that can still be done right now. We have people making face masks in the community. So if any students want to get involved in that, I can connect you to a bunch of people who are doing it in the community. There are actually different designs out there for the different masks. Some people have gotten super creative. People are also doing food drives, helping bring attention to different organizations that might need help right now. Feeding South Florida is one of the biggest agencies right now that is providing food to those in need in South Florida. And things like that. There are different organizations to get in touch with. And then of course, every member of our commission is always available by email. You can find information on our city website. And yeah.
Mayor, we appreciate you looking out for everyone across the generational spectrum. But while the government and leaders like yourself can advocate to do the right thing, how do you feel the community is doing in following the guidelines and preventing the virus? And do you have additional advice on what we more can do?
Yeah, I would say overall, the community has really done an amazing job. I remember early on, there were some people questioning, well, do we really need to do this? Do we not need to do this? A lot of the information was very conflicting early on. But then once the pandemic really kind of hit New York, you have several people from this area who know people in New York. And I remember a lot of attitudes had changed then when people actually knew people who had been affected by it. I would just suggest, let's just believe what the scientists say, let's believe what the medical experts say, and let's do our best to comply. The actions we take now, as we can see, they are making a difference around the country. The shelter-in-place actions are making a difference to flatten the curve and to make sure that the hospitals are not overwhelmed, and that's the number one goal. And so anything people can do to help stop the spread would be great. There's no point taking a risk now that could cause someone else harm. And it's just important to take those precautions and do what we've been asked to do by every level of government, from the national to the state to the county to the local level.
Mayor, you alluded to it before, but Eagles Haven is a gem in our community.
Yes.
Can you speak to the opportunities that are there for our community in taking care of our mental wellness and health during this time?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, many people don't are not aware that there are trained clinicians on staff at Eagles Haven. So when you call the number, you can get help if you need it. Additionally, they are having wonderful wellness activities through Zoom. There's Qigong, Tai Chi, meditation, yoga, and all different activities. And it's a great way to connect with other people and doing some fun things. Another organization that's doing a lot of free wellness activities virtually is Baptist Health South Florida. I believe I posted some information on that. They have a weekly schedule of some of the things that they have going on. Additionally, if you dial 211 in Broward County, that will connect you to 211 Broward, which can connect you to additional resources if you should need it. And even for our seniors, there's a program at 211 where you can give the name and number of the seniors, and they will check in on them on a daily basis just to make sure they're okay and they're not isolated. I think our number one concern right now is when people are being physically distanced, that they are not isolated and that they're still getting access to whatever services they may need, whatever help they may need. We don't want people feeling alone during this time, because feeling isolated and very alone can sometimes be a dangerous place for people.
Absolutely. Mayor, I wanted to congratulate you and even Vice Mayor Mayerson on recently winning the Home Rule Hero Award because
Thank
of
you.
your advocacy for local government. And that's exactly why I think it's important to hear your perspective on, do you as mayor and does the city feel supported by the federal, state, and county government to have the autonomy to do what's right for our community?
So in the state we're in, unfortunately, in many ways, the local governments do get preempted in having a lot of say in things. For example, there was a bill this session that would have allowed local governments to ban smoking in the parks. Unfortunately, that didn't get anywhere, so local governments have no authority over that. So while we might not have authority over certain items, we do try and exert influence. So if you don't have the option to have the control, then at least do the work to have the influence. And with that, Vice Mayor Mayerson is very active in the Broward League of Cities. This session, myself, Vice Mayor Mayerson, and Commissioner Walker at separate times all went up to Tallahassee to advocate for bills that would benefit our community. And so we do what we can, where we can. We make sure that the city of Parkland is always represented at key meetings and in key discussions. Even during this process, all the city managers in Broward County all get together. They're on weekly calls so that they can all discuss what different cities are doing, best practices. The mayors have also been on similar calls to learn from each other. No one has all the best answers, and usually through a collaborative approach, we come to the best answers we can and we learn from each other. And I think that helps everybody.
And we appreciate your inspirational voice on the local, state, and federal level and guiding us through what are challenging times for all. Mayor, what are your final words of advice and encouragement to our youth and community at large?
Take a breath. Right now, it's a very difficult time for many people. It's a very uncertain time. People are taking classes at home, which can be challenging, which can be boring. Maybe there might be a lack of motivation. There are people who are missing graduations. My son's supposed to be graduating from college, and that's been postponed. And there are high school graduations that I've heard there's some talk in the works that something's happening there, but proms are going to be missed. Different activities are going to be missed. And sometimes you can feel a certain sense of loss that you've missed out on that. And it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm a little disappointed that that didn't happen. But take this opportunity to focus on the good things. Maybe this is also an opportunity to kind of read a new book, find something that you're passionate about. I know you're very passionate about debate.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite activities for students. So it's an opportunity to find what you're good at, find what you love to do. I always say in life, you know, no one person is supposed to be a certain way. There are many paths to success. There are many paths to get to where you're supposed to go or need to go in life. So it's important to figure out, you know, what motivates you, what you enjoy doing, and where's something where you can really shine and be the person that you're meant to be. So take it easy, use this opportunity, and enjoy the time with your family, even when we can get annoying.
Mayor, we appreciate your leadership so much. And on a personal note, I am always so grateful to you for supporting me in all of my endeavors and teaching me so much when you, I'm sure, are a very busy individual, especially during this time. Thanks again for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you so much for having me. And I have to say, one of the joys that I have on a regular basis is seeing our young people being engaged and involved. It gives me hope. I know that we have a future that is bright because we have youth that are engaged, wanting to make a difference, and you are absolutely a wonderful example of that. So thank you so much for all you do for all of us.
I appreciate that, Mayor. Send my warmest regards to your family as well.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.